Civilizations rise and fall on the basis of cultural ideals, not on material assets alone. I think much more than the threat from violent extremism, or jihadism, is the existential threat posed by our lack of faith in our own ideals, in our own values, and our failure to find those transcendental ideas and reasons for self-sacrifice that make civilizations endure, especially among our young people. You've got a tremendously surging youth population, and it's usually called the youth bulge. And governments' responses to youth, especially young men, is to clobber them. They're a danger. And that, of course, leads to all sorts of frustrated aspirations. And especially in this age of this massive media-driven global political awakening, through television, but also much more now through social media, youth are exposed to what is available, what exists across the world. And they see that their own ambitions, their own aspirations are stymied compared to what's possible. We are starting to treat our young people the way most of the rest of the world treats them, namely as something to be controlled and clobbered, rather than to be fostered as the most creative force we have today. Let their expressions emerge. They're the only ones who can get us out of this mess. But I don't see any institutions yet being offered which let them have even a platform. I see local successes everywhere. Local movements, young teenagers in Pakistan, Gulalai and Sabah Ismail, able to turn young Taliban men around. I see groups even of private enterprise and Facebook like peer-to-peer, creatively developing ways, alternative ways among youth, by youth, for youth, away from violence. I see the hopefulness in UN Resolution 2250 for youth, peace, and security. When Jordan, in 2015, held the presidency of the UN Security Council, and in order not to piss off Jordan, even the French and the Russians, who were very skeptical about the whole thing, voted for it. There's no money yet to implement any ideas, but there are youth inspired from all over the world, youth who have suffered, youth with bullets in their heads, youth who have suffered revolution, who are turning away from violence, looking for a way to develop something more positive, something more productive, but something that gives meaning and significance to their lives. But as yet, there's no way to put these local success stories together. Nothing to compete with the nationalist, populist take of retrenchment into the nation state built on blood and perpetual conflict with others, and transnational jihadi movement, which tries to build a salvational movement that most of us won't be able to tolerate, much less live in. I think it's all this fracturing of a world system in which people aren't finding significance and purpose. And they need it. And they need a spirit of community. They need to be re-enchanted. They needed to be re-ritualized. They needed to be re-spiritualized. And all we see now is either shopping malls or very austere Enlightenment values of, yes, if it's more economical, yes, if it makes reasonable in a utilitarian sense, that is the only thing that works and the only thing that should work. But it doesn't. It doesn't at all. And until I think we come up with, our young people come up with, or are not stifled in coming up with, new ways of re-enchanting themselves, re-spiritualizing themselves, coming up with a sense of community and purpose, then we're going to devolve fairly rapidly into a much more serious situation than we have today.
The new thing in the world, and the thing that has only been true at very special moments in history, and never true as it is now, it is that now the children have to lead a life and move towards a conclusion that is unknown. And if the adults are going to understand the world in which they live they have to look at the children whose experience is different from their own. It doesn't mean that children know more than adults. It simply means that children know more about living in the present-day world than adults, because the adults grew up in such a different world.